Hey, what's up? Welcome to this new video. This one is paper 1 of May-June 2006 for paper 1 A-level math. With that being said, let's move on to question number 1. So here we have a curve have equation y equal to k over x. Okay, given that the gradient of the curve is equal to minus 3. Now we understand that the gradient of a curve is always going to be dy by dx is equal to minus 3. When the value of x is equal to 2. Okay, now find the value of the constant k. So we have to use these given information to find the value of k. So one by one, we know this. How do we find dy by dx? So we know y can also be written as k x power minus 1. So dy by dx will be what? So k is only a multiple, leave k outside. Then multiply by the power, and then minus 1 to the power will be this. That will be minus k over x squared. Now we know dy by dx at the value of x equal to 2 is going to be minus 3. So just replace and see what happened. That will be minus k over the value of 4. That should be minus 3. From here, k will have to be the value of 12. That is question part 1 in relation to quadratics. Now let's move on to the next question. So here we have to solve sine 2x plus cos 2x equal to 0 for the value of x between 0 and 3, so 180. Now obviously if here you have 2x, we can just change that to 2x, multiply by 2, that will be between 0 and 360. Okay, so anyways, let's move on to the main question itself. We have to solve that equation. So the idea is that whenever we have sine and cos in one equation, we always divide by cos. So here we have cos 2x, so we divide by cos 2x. So you will have sine over cos is tan 2x plus 3, the cos 2x divided by cos 2x will be 3 equal to 0. Now we have tan 2x is equal to minus 3. So now we realize that tan is negative. It will be in which quadrant? A, S, T, C have to be in the second quadrant and the fourth quadrant. So here it is theta, obviously it is 180 minus theta. And here we have 360 minus theta. So let's first find the value of theta. Theta will be, so theta is not the answer, it is the angle in these quadrants. So theta will be tan inverse of the positive value of 3. So this is not the answer yet. Tan inverse of the positive value of 3 should be 71.6 degrees. Now to find the value of 2x, because here we have 2x is equal to 180 minus theta and 360 minus theta. So 2x will be what? Let's find out. So 180 plus 71.6, that will be 251.6. So I guess I typed something wrong. That should be 108. My apologies, 108.4. This one will be 360 minus 71.6. That should be 288.4 degrees. Okay, so let me write this down. This one is for 2x. Now x is equal to what? Divide by 2. So 108 divided by 0.4 divided by 2. That should be 54.2. And then 288.4 divided by 2. That is 144.2. Now, if you want to, we can check if we have any other values. Because here we have 2, we can add 360 and 360 to those values to see if in case we have anything else. But in my opinion, or from what I can see, we should not, but you have nothing to lose. 108.4 plus 360, that will be 468.4. And this one will be obviously too much. Let's check. 0.4 plus 360, that should be 648.4. Now divide by 2. 0.4 divided by 2, that is 234 will be too much, and this obviously will be too much. So in this case, there was no need because we could also see that 2x was 108 and then 288. Obviously, the next revolution will be too much, so we only will be having those two values of x will be inside this domain. And that will be a question in relation to trigonometry. Let's move on to the next question. So each year, company gives a grant to charity. The amount given each year increases by 5% of its value in the preceding year. The grant in 2001 was this much. Find the grant given in 2011. Now, this kind of question is definitely confusing. I will first definitely write a few things down. So I do understand that my first term, which was 2001, right? It was 5,000. That's the first term. So we can write this down. A is equal to 5,000. That's my first term. Now, we understand that on the next year, it will increase by 5%. So next year, second year, for 2002, it would increase by 5%. Okay? So now, the way we look at this is the initial amount, we regard this as 100%. Now, increase by 5%, so this here will be 105% of the initial amount. Now, what is 105%? It is 105 divided by 100. That is definition of percentage. That will be 1.05. So, second year will be, or the year 2002 will be, this times the initial amount. So this will be this right here. We can check if you want to. So second year will be 1.05 times 5,000 should be this much. So second year he gives this much. Now let's move on to the third year, or 2003. What is the amount that you have to give? Now, obviously, it is in relation to this year now. So now this year is a new 100. We increase by 5%. It will be again 105% of this one. It will be again 1.105 times the previous amount was this one. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So if I were to rewrite this down, let me make it kind of clear to see what's happening. So my first term here is 1. So let's see, this is the term 1, 2, 3. I know first term is 5,000. Second term is 1.05 times 5,000. And this is 1.05 squared times 5,000. Every time we're increasing by the same multiple, right? Which means it has a common ratio. The common ratio is R is equal to 1.05. And the first term is equal to 5,000 as by the given information. Now, common ratio first term, it is going to be a geometric progression. Now we have to find the amount given in the year 2011. So by comparison, 2001 was the first term, 2002 was the second term, 2003 was the third term. So obviously 2011 will be the 11th term. So we have to find the 11th term. Now according to a geometric progression, the nth term is given to you by a n minus 1. So T11, a is 5,000 times 1.05, n minus 1 is 10. Let's see what do we get. 1.05 times power of 10 times 5,000, that should be 8.1, so 8,144.47. Correct to 3SF, that should be, that's 40. This will be the 11th term, the amount given in 2011. Now for part 2 of the question, we have to find the total amount of money given to the charity during the years 2001 and to 2011. So the idea is simple. We're trying to find the sum of the first 11 term. So it will be, of course, this is a formula given to you as well for a geometric progression. It will be a, then we can take r power n minus 1 over the value of r minus 1. That will be what? A is 5,000. R is 1.05. That will be 11 minus 1 over the value of 1.05 minus 1. Minus 1 divided by 1.05 minus 1 times 5,000. That should be 71,033.9358. So 3SF, 71, 0, and then 0, 0. Because we don't, the 3 is not more than 5, so it will be rounded to 0 as well. So correct to 3SF, it will be 71,000 will be the amount given from the year 2001 to 2011. So I hope the most important part was to understand this is actually a geometric progression, and from that point on you can always use the formulas and then find the following answers. So this one will be the first three terms in the expansion of this in ascending powers of x are these three. Now we have to find the values of n, a, and b. So one by one. How would you expand this? You will do n combination. First term will be 0. Then we have 2 here. That will be ax. This is 0. This also will be 0. And this will be n. Right? Plus n choose 1. That should be this. And that should be this. Here it is 1. Has to be 1 as well. And this will be n minus 1. And finally the third term n choose 2. That should be 2. Ax. That should be 2 here. And then here we have n minus 2. Now this will be n choose 0. Anything choose 0, that should be 1. And this will be 2 power n, and that should be 1. This is 2 power n. But now we know 2 power n is equal to 32. But now 32 as well is equal to 2 power 5. So now because they have the same base, they will cancel out. N should be the value of 5. That's the first good thing we found in this expansion. We can use that to find the following values. Now we know n is 5. 5 choose 1 times 2. Here we have 5 minus 1 is 4. Then that will be ax. That will be 5 times the value of 32. Now for 2 power 4 is actually 16. We can always double check that. 2 power 4 is 16 exactly. Now times a and x. Now what is 5 times 16? Let's find out. That should be 80. So 80ax will be the second term. But now we know that this is equal to this. So 80ax have to be minus 40x. By comparison, this have to be this. So 80a have to be minus 40. A have to be minus 40 divided by 80, which will be minus half. Now for the last one, we have to expand this. Now again, n it is 5, choose 2. Here we have 2 power. N is 5 minus 2 will be 3. Here we have ax, that should be power 2. Now one by one, 5 choose 2 is what? Let's check. That should be 10, but let's check. So 10, that should be 2 power 3 will be 8. A square, this will be x square. Now we know this is given by bx square. So let's find out what is the value of b. So here we have 80 times ax square. A square is minus half square. X square is equal to b square. Now minus half square is what? It is 1 over 4. And that will be this. We can simplify, it will become 20. So 20x square is supposed to be bx square. So obviously by comparing the coefficients, we can see b have to be the value of 20. And that is your question in relation to binomial expansion. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. So the curve y square equal to 12x intersects the line 3y plus equal to 4x plus 6 at 2 points. Okay, so it means that we will have 2 points of intersection, obviously. Now, we have to find the distance between those 2 points. So first, to find the distance, we understand we have to find the points. So for example, here, the main idea is that we have a curve. Let's say the curve is this shape. Then we have a straight line which meets the curve at 2 places. We want to find those 2 points and then find the distance between them. Okay, so let's do that. Now to find the distance or to find the points, we have to solve a simultaneous equation. So the first equation is this one. Second is this one. Now obviously we can choose which one we want to make subject. You can choose whatever you want. In this case, it is up to you. Me, in this case, I realize I can do something here. I have 4x. I want to choose x, so I'll choose 4x first. Is equal to 3y minus 6. Okay, great. This is 4x as the subject. Again, this is my choice. You can choose y if you want to. But the reason why I chose 4x, I will show you in a bit. So here I have y squared equal to 12x. But now, what is 12x? 12x, we understand it is 3 times 4x. Okay, so now I can see, or I hope you can see why I chose 4x. Now we understand 4x is also equal to this one. So you'll be 3 times 3y minus 6. That will be y squared. So y squared will be 9y minus 18. Simplify. Y squared minus 9y plus 18 equal to 0. Now we can try to factorize, obviously, because this one is a quadratic equation. That will be this times this equal to 0. Y squared is obviously y times y. 18 is what? It is 1 times 18, 2 times 9, or 3 times 6. So we have to choose which pair will make sense. So it can be minus 9. So in this case, it is done by trial and error. So I will choose this one. I will need 6 here and 3 here. Because I need minus 9, for minus 9, we have to have minus 3 and minus 6. Now we have to check. Minus times minus is plus. Here we have plus, so good factorization. So y can be 3 and y can be 6. Now moving on, we have to find the value of x. So here we have 4x is equal to 3 times y minus 6. So 3 times y is 9 minus 6. That should be 3. X will be 3 over 4. That is simply 1.75. This one, y should be what? Let's replace 4x is equal to 3 times y is 18, right? So 3 times 6, can check, 18 minus 6, that should be 12. So x will be the value of 3. So here we have 2 points. The first point is 1.75 and 3. And then we have 3, 6. So here we have the 2 points we need. We can just find the distance between them. How can you do that? We have to use the formula distance is equal to root. That will be x2 minus x1. 1.3 minus 1.75 should be 1.25 square plus the value of this one minus this one. That should be 3 square. So we have 1.2 square, 25 square plus 3 square. That should be root of answer. That should be 3.25. Distance will be 3.25 units for the distance between the 2 points. Again, something, if you guys don't know the formula here, let me write this down. Distance formula is what? It is x2 minus x1 square plus y2 minus y1 square. This is inside the square root, of course, given that if you have 2 points, for example, x1, y1, and x2, y2, to find the distance, we'll use this formula. And this is a question in relation to coordinates geometry. So here I did realize that I made a very silly mistake. If you check this out, 3 divided by 4 is not 1.75, it is just 0.75. So I have to correct this. This will be 2 here, and that will be 7. Let's check. 2.25 square plus 3 square root. That should be 3.75. So that will be your answer. Again, my apologies. Always be careful. Let's move on to the next question. So in the diagram we have ABC is a triangle. Okay, ABC. Now with AB equal to 4 and BC equal to 6 and 4. Now the angle inside is 150 right here. The line CX is perpendicular to the line ABX. So ABX, CX, it is perpendicular right here. Now one thing we can derive right away is that if this is a straight line, right, this is 50, this will have to be what? 30, right? Okay, so that's the first thing we can derive. Now part 1, we have to find the exact length of BX. BX is this one. And we have to show the angle CAB, CAB, or this angle, is given by this. Okay, so one by one, let's first find the length of BX. So if you take this triangle out, we have this triangle, we have this angle and this angle. This is your A side and this is your H side, right? So we have to use SOHCAHTOA because we have a right angle triangle. We know the angles and we have to find a missing side given one side. We have to use SOHCAHTOA. Now this is the A side, so A and A. This is the H side, that will be H and H. So here we can see we have to use cos. So cos of 30, that will have to be A side, that is BX, over the value of H, that will be 6. So you can see here, BX will be 6 cos 30. So now we understand what is cos 30. We have to know this exact value. Cos 30 is root 3 over 2. That should be 3 root 3. Okay, so that will be 3 root 3. Okay, now to find the angle CAB, CAB is this angle, so pretty easy. Now this angle here is part of this big triangle. Again, this big triangle is also a right angle triangle. This angle, we know this side. For example, if I take out the triangle, the big triangle, that is CXA. Now angle CAB is the same thing as angle CAX, right? That makes sense. This is 90. This is what? AX is the length of 4 plus 3 root 3. Height, do we know this one? Let me check. We don't know this one. We can find this one actually. So let's find this length. So again, we can use SOHCAHTOA. We know this side, this is your H side, this is your opposite side, we have to use sine. So let me write this here. Sine of the angle equal to CX over the value of 6. So CX will be what? Sine 30 is half, that should be 3. So this is 3. So from this we can derive obviously tan is opposite side. So tan of angle A, so CAB, you can write that if you want to. That should be the opposite side is 3 over the value of the A side. This is just by definition. So finally the angle CAB is going to be tan inverse of 3 over 4 plus 3 root 3. That will be shown as required for part 1. Now for part 2, we have to show the exact length of AC is this. So let's see what can we do for the exact length of AC. So pretty easy. We can obviously recognize that we have a right angle triangle. We know these two sides. We can find this pretty easily by the Pythagoras theorem. So the Pythagoras theorem states that if we have AX square, you plus CX square, you're supposed to get AC square. So AX, we know it is 4 plus 3 root 3 square plus CX square, that should be 9 equal to AC square. Simplify, you will have 16. 2 times 8 is 8, so 2 times 4 is 8. 8 times 3 is 24. And then plus 9 times 3. So 3 square is 9, root 3 square is 3, plus 9. That should be AC square. Simplify, 16 plus 27 plus 9. That should be 52 plus 24 root 3. AC square. So AC will be what? Root of the value of 52 plus 24 root 3. Okay, so that will be the question that we have in relation to trigonometry. Let's move on to the next question. So the diagram shows a circle with center O. This is center O. The radius here is 8, which means this also will be 8, right? Now the points A and B lie on the circle, and the tangents at A and B meet the point T. So they meet at the point T. Now I can see this is the same as this as well. So what do we know? If the tangent meets the point A meets the center, it will mean that this have to be 90 and this have to be 90. This is a theorem you have to know. I think we have learned this in circle theorem in O level as well. If you have a tangent at the point here, the point meets your center O, 90 and 90. Okay, great. Now let's move on. We have this is 15, part 1. We have to show the angle AOB is this. AOB will be this angle, correct to 3SF. So how can you show this? So pretty easy. There's many ways, obviously. One of the ways I have just figured out is we can actually break this down into 2 equal pieces, right? Let's cut this down into 2 equal pieces. Now, if I were to take this one out, for example, I can take this triangle out. This is 90. And this should be something like this. Right, let's say that's the top one. This is 90 over here. This is the angle. This is 8 OBT. This is 15 right here. Now, we have a right angle triangle. We know the 2 sides. We're trying to find the angle. We can use SOHCAHTOA, obviously, right? Because this is a right angle triangle, we're trying to find the angles given 2 sides. This is the, what side is that? This is the A side. This is the O side. So we have to use tan. So tan of the angle O have to be the opposite side, which is this one, 15, over the A side, this. So O have to be tan inverse of 15 divided by 8. So let's find out. Tan inverse of that, we have to find in, obviously in radians. That will be 1.080839. Now again, this is just this side. This is just the one side. But now obviously we know this top side and the bottom side are the same. So the angle here will be the same thing as well. So multiply by 2. Let's see what do we get. Times 2, that will be 2.1616. So correct to 3SF, that should be 2.16 radians shown as required. Okay, that is part 1 of the question. Now for part 2, we have to show the perimeter of the shaded region, which is this one right here. We have to find that, not show that. So again, how do we find the perimeter? Is the distance around the object. So we can see it should be AT plus BT and plus BA. Now AT plus BT is equal to 30. Now BA is the arc length, right? So arc length is R times theta is the angle. So 30 plus R is 8. Theta is 2.1616. This times 8 plus 30. That should be 47.3, correct to 3SF. Of course, you have to write centimeters over here. Now finally, if you want to find the area of the region, we can just use this one, for example. We can first find this one and then multiply by 2 to find this one. Obviously, it's not too bad. So we can first find the area of the whole triangle. We can do triangle will be what? Because it is a right angle triangle, we can do half times base is 15 times the height. It will be 8. That should be 4 here, 60. That's the area of this triangle. Now we do not want this part. So this is area of sector. That will be half R square, which will be 8 square, and the angle will be 2 point. This is only half the angle. My apologies. That should be 1.0808. So let's do that. Half times 8 square times 1.0808. That should be 34.586. So the area for just for this side, just for this side, will be this one minus this. So 60 minus 34.586. That should be 25.414. But again, we understand that this and this are the same, so we just have to multiply by 2 to find the whole thing, right? That should be 50.8, correct, to 3SF for the area of the shaded region. So of course you have to write centimeters square for the area. And that will be a question in relation to circular measure. Let's move on to the next question. So the diagram shows the roof of a house. The base of the roof, which is OABC, is rectangular and horizontal with OA and CB equal to 14. So OA and CB, so this and this is equal to 14. Now OC and AB is 8. So OC and AB, they are 8. The top of the roof D is 6 centimeters. Sorry, it's 5 meters above. Okay, I get this. So I'm 5 above the base, and D is equal to 6. Okay, good to know. Now, the sloping edges OD, CD, A, and B are all of equal length. They are of equal length. Okay, good to know. Now, unit vectors I, J are parallel to OA and OC, and the unit vector K is vertically upwards. Okay, given to you. Now, part 1, we have to express OD in terms of I, J, and K and find its magnitude. So where's OD? O going to D. So we have to go to D. Now we have to see how can we go from O to D. So let's check it out. We can first go to from O. We can try to go to here, exactly in the middle, right? That will be, let's say, here first. That will be, let's call this M. So from O we can go to M. That will be the midpoint of C or OC. Now from M we can go up vertically upwards by 5, right? That will be 5K upwards. Then from that we can go to this side. We don't know how much. That will be from, so we go up 5, we will be on the same level as this. So let me make a line so we can draw this, we can see this more clearly. Let me continue the line for D, right? This will be vertically upwards, same level, so will be 5, right? And then from this point, let's call this X, we have to go to D. So X, D. Okay, great. Now OM, we can know easily. The whole thing here is 8, so half will be 4, right? So this length here will be 4. If that makes sense. But now since we're going from O to this direction, in the direction of J, that will be just 4J. How about this one? If you think, from X to D, we're going in the same direction as I, so it will be something I. But what is the length of this? So we have to think. Because this and the one in the back have to be the same length, right? We have here and we also have something. Let me continue as well so we can kind of understand visually what's happening here. That should be vertical as well. Something over here, midpoint. As you can see, this will be, let's call this the point Y. So we understand this and that have to be the same. These two are the same. So let's call this length, let's say we don't know, let's call this D. D and D have to be the same. But we understand that the whole length is supposed to be 14, which means D plus 6 is supposed to give you 14. So 2D have to be the value of 8, so D have to be 4. So which means this one have to be 4I in this direction. So let me write this down. OD was found to be 4I plus 4J and plus 5K. So if you understand, we move 4 in this direction, we move 4 in this direction, and we move 5 in this direction to reach the point from O going to D. Okay, great. Now what else? We have to find its magnitude, pretty easy. Magnitude of OD, that will be root of 4 squared is 16, 4 squared is 16, 5 squared is 25. Let's see, what do we have? 16 times 2 plus 25, that should be 57. Root of that should be 7.55 units. Okay, now let's move on to the next question. Part 2, we have to use scalar product to find the angle DOB. Now DOB from O go to D, O go to B. So let's find the angle. Has to be OB, dot product of OD, have to be OB, OD, and then cos of the angle DOB. Okay, so let's first find those two vectors we need to find. So what is OB? O going to B, have to be O going to A going to B, right? So from what we can see according to the diagram, OB have to be O going to A, that will be 14. In this direction, that will be I. And then A going to B will be in this direction, that will be 8J. That is OB. Now we have to find OD. Now where's OD? O going to D, we know already, is right here. So let's write this down. OB was found to be 14, 8, and 0. Dot of OD, 4, 4, and 5, equal to the length of OB, pretty easy. That will be 14 square plus 8 square. That will be 260. That will be root of 260. That will be root of 57 and cos of DOB. So now we can pretty much solve this easily. This is scalar product, so it will be 14 times 4 plus 8 times 4 plus 0 times 5. That should be 88. 88, that will be root of 260, root of 57, cos of the angle DOB. So we can make this become subject. So cos of DOB will be what? Will be 88 divided by this value. That will be root of 260, root of 57, times root of 57. That should be 0 point something, 722867. Obviously the angle DOB, that will be cos inverse of the value. Let's see what we get. That should be in, we can use degrees. It is not specified, we can use degrees or radians. That will be 43.7 degrees for the angle, correct to 1 decimal place. And that will be your question in relation to vectors. Let's move on to the next question. A curve is such that dy by dx is given by this. Now the first thing we can do is simply rewrite this as 4, 6 minus 2x power minus half. Okay, great. Now P is a point on the curve. P is a point on the curve. Great. Now, part 1. The normal to the curve at the point P, it meets the axis at Q and R. We have to find the midpoint of QR. So to find the midpoint, obviously, we must first find the point Q and the point R. Now, for example, here, just to understand, we can make a drawing. The curve, let's say the shape of the curve is something like this. Why not? And then the point P, let's say something over here. Over here. This is the point P. The normal to the curve will be a line at 90 degrees at that point, P. This is the normal to the line. Now the normal, it crosses, let me draw this here, for example. This is the Y, and this is the x-axis. For example, it is not exact, obviously, it is just an illustration. So this is my axis, and as you can see, we have 2 points of intersection. This is on the x-axis, we have Q, and on the Y, we have R. For example, right? So we have to find those 2 points and then find the midpoint in between. Again, This is just an illustration. It is not the exact drawing. It's just an idea of what's happening and what we need to find. But either way, we first have to find the points R or Q and R. That's the first thing we have to find. Now, to find the points, we can see we have to find the equation of the normal and find the point of intersection. Now, how do you find the equation of a normal? It is a straight line. We must first find its gradient. Right. Now, as we have seen many times before, to find the gradient of a normal, we must first find the gradient of tangent. Now, this is simply equal to dy by dx at the point P where the value of x is 1. This is my x value, my y value. Now, we know dy by dx already. Just replace. You will have 4 over root of 6 minus 2 times 1. That should be what? 4 over root of 4. That should be 2. Now from this we can find the value. This is the gradient of tangent, which means the gradient of normal could be derived. That should be minus half. Now the main equation behind this is because we know they are perpendicular to each other. Again, tangent and normal, they are at right angle at each other. Because of that, we can use this formula or this relationship, which is gradient of tangent multiplied by gradient of normal, is supposed to give you minus 1. So because of that, we were able to derive this value. Now from here, it's pretty easy. We know the passing point is 1/8, obviously. This is my x value, my y value. So y minus this corresponding value over x minus its corresponding value should be minus half. Now this is just a way that I use to find the equation of a straight line. Now if you guys have any other method, since you have the gradient and the passing point, it should be pretty easy. Now cross multiply, obviously, that should be 2y minus 16. That will be minus x plus 1. Now 2y has to be what? Minus x plus 17. This is my equation of the normal. Okay, great, that is done. Part 1. Equation of normal. Now moving on, we have to find the point Q and R at the axis. So at the x-axis, we know the value of y have to be 0. So replace, you will have 0 equal to minus x plus 17. So x have to be 17. So let's call this the point Q. That should be 17, 0. Now at the y-axis, the value of x have to be 0. So 2y equal to 17. So y have to be 17 divided by 2. That should be 8.5. So the point R is 0, 8.5. So now we have 2 points, Q and R. We have to find the midpoint of Q and R. We can just use the formula, which is the midpoint have to be x1 plus x2 divided by 2. That should be 8.5. x2 plus y1 plus y2 divided by 2. That should be 4.25. So this is the midpoint of QR, part 1 of the question. Now let's move on to part 2 of the question. So here we have to find the equation of the curve, which is y. Now we have to know y is equal to integration of dy by dx. Let's do this. That should be, it is 4 times 6 minus 2x power minus half respect to dx. Let's find out. Now 4 is only a multiple. It will stay outside. We don't care about that. First, we have to increase the power by 1. That's the first thing. Minus half plus 1 is half. Then divide by the power. Then divide by d by dx of the value inside. So d by dx of 6 minus 2x is minus 2x. Okay? Obviously, we have to plus c for the constant of integration. So this and this will cancel out. It will become minus 4, 6 minus 2x half plus c. That is y, obviously. Now we have to find the value of c. We have to use the passing point, x and y. Y was 8. X is the value of 2 times 1 half plus c. Let's see what do we have. That will be 8 minus 4. 6 minus 2 is 4. Power half is 2 plus c. C will be 8 plus 8. That should be 16. So finally the value of y have to be minus 4, 6 minus 2x, power half plus 16. So that is your question in relation to, I will call this maybe integration. And let's move on to the next question. So the diagram shows the curve y equal to x cubed minus 3x squared minus 9x plus k. Okay, the curve has a minimum on the x-axis. Now we know that on the x-axis the value of y is 0. Okay, now we have to do what? We have to find the value of k. Okay, value of k, let's do step by step. Now we know that at the stationary point, what happens? Let me write this down because this comes up all the time. At stationary point, we know dy by dx have to be 0. So we can do dy by dx, you will have what? 3x squared minus 6x minus 9 have to be 0. Now we have to factorize. You will have what? You will have 3x, we can divide by 3 actually because everything is a multiple of 3. You will have x squared minus 2x minus 3, 0. Now we can factorize. That should be x times x, and 3 is 3 times 1. To get minus 2 we have to have minus 1, minus 3 plus 1. X will be minus 1, x will be value of 3. So obviously minus 1 will be this one, right? And this will be the value of 3. So we have the stationary points already, which means we have 2 passing points. So the point on the curve, one of the point is 3, 0, and one of the point is minus 1. And we have to find this value yet. Well, we'll see what we get for this one. But here, we can use this point to find the value of k, right? This is the x value and the y value. So replace in the equation we have here, y should be 0, 1x is 3. That should be 3 power 3 should be 27, minus 3 times 9, minus 9 times 3 plus k. So that should be 27 minus 27 minus 27 plus k. So k should be what? This cancel out, k should be 27. So value of k will be 27. That is part 1 of the question. Now moving on, part 2. We have to find the points of the maximum. So maximum point, pretty easy. The x value is minus 1. We just have to find the y value. Just replace back in the equations. That should be minus 1 cubed is minus 1, minus 3 times minus 1, plus 9, plus k have to give you, this k is again 27. So let's see what do we get from that. So minus 3, so minus 1 minus 3 plus 9 plus 27, that is 32. So the y value here is actually 32. So the maximum point is minus 132. Okay, pretty easy. Now part 3, we have to find the set of values of x for which this one is a decreasing function of x. Okay, so it's pretty easy. By observation you can see that from this point on, going from this point of x up till this point, it is decreasing. So pretty easy, you can say for the values of x between minus 1 and 3, it is a decreasing function. Again, it is only state, which means it should be pretty easy. It is only 1 mark. So by observation, you can see from this point on, as we go on with x, the value keeps going down, or the slope is going down, which means it is decreasing until 3, and then it goes back up. So these are the set of values of x for which it is decreasing. That is part 3. Now for part 4, we have to find the area of the shaded region. So how do you find area under a curve? We use integration, obviously. Integration, limits will be 3, and here we have 0. The equation is x cubed minus 3x squared minus 9x plus 27 with respect to to dx. Now one by one, that will be x power 4 over 4 minus 3x cubed over 3 minus 9x squared over 2 plus 27x. Now that will be limits of 3 and 0. So let's try to simplify. 3 power 4 over 4, this will cancel out, minus 3 power 3 minus 4.5 3 power 2 plus 27 power 3. Now minus everything will be just 0, right? So 3 power 4 is 81 over 4 minus 27 minus 4.5 times 9, that should be 40.5, and plus 27 times 3, that should be 81. So 81 over 4 minus 27 minus 40.5 plus 81, that should be 33.75 units square for the area under curve. Again, area under curve is found by using integration. Let's move on to the next question. Function f and g are defined by the following. Okay, good to know. Now part 1, we have to find the values of k for which the equation this has two equal roots, and solve the equation this is this in these cases. So let's find out. So first thing, let me write down f of x. So f of x is k minus x is equal to 9x plus 2. Right. Now we can of course simplify. That will be what? Kx, so k minus x times x plus 2 equal to 9. That will be kx plus 2k minus x squared minus 2x. Let's send everything to one side. You will have x squared plus 2x minus kx plus 9 minus 2k is 0. Okay, great. Now we can simplify this. We will have x squared plus, factorize x, you have 2 minus k x. Here we have 9 minus 2k. So obviously this is the value of 1. This is the value of a, b, and c. Now given that they have two equal roots, they are equal, it means that it will meet on only one point. So b squared for ac have to be 0. So b squared is what? B squared is 2 minus k squared minus 4 times 1 times 9 minus 2k. Now simplify. You will have what? Let's see, you will have 4 minus the value of 4k plus k squared minus 36 plus 8k is 0. That will be k squared, and then we have minus k plus 8, that should be plus k, 4k, sorry, and then we have 4 of this, that should be minus 32 is 0. So now again we have a quadratic equation to hopefully find two values of k. So factorize, you will have k times k, that should be 8 times 4. We need plus 4, should be plus 8 minus 4. So k can be equal to minus 8 and k can be equal to 4. So we have two values of k in this case, so we can do case number 1. When k equal to minus 8, our equation was what? Solving the equation, here we have x squared plus 2 minus k, 2 minus minus k should be 10x. That should be 9 minus 2k, so 2 times minus 8 should be minus 16, so 9 minus minus 16, that should be 25 equal to 0. So factorize, let's see what do we get. We get x times x, 5 times 5. To get plus 10, that should be plus and plus. X can be minus 5. That is one value. Now in the case of k equal to the value of 4, what do we have? We have x squared. 2 minus k should be minus 2x. And then 9 minus 8 should be plus 1, right? So 9 minus 2 times 4 should be just 1, right? Now we can try to factorize. This one, let's see what happened. In this case, we have 9 minus 2k, we get 1, and we need to have minus 2. That will be x times x. 1 is 1 times 1. To get minus 2, we have to have minus 1 minus 1. X will be the value of 1. So in these two cases, we have two possible values that we can get for this equation. Now for part 2, we have to solve the equation this. 1k is 6. Okay? So right now f of x is what? F of x is equal to 6 minus x because given k is 6. Now, this will be 6 minus g of x, that should be 9 over x plus 2, equal to 5. So from this, continue, that should be 9 over x plus 2. 6 minus 5 is 1, so cross multiply, you have 9 equal to x plus 2. From this, you will have x equal to 7. Okay, this is 7. Okay, for part 2. Now for part 3, express g inverse in terms of x. So 1 by 1, g inverse, first let y equal to g. This is pretty easy. So we have this as g. Let me write this down. This is actually 2 here. Now we have to make x become subject, so we cross multiply. You have xy, xy plus 2y equal to 9. So xy is equal to 9 minus 2y. Now finally, x have to be 9 minus 2y divided by y. Following this, we have to write g inverse. It is in terms of x. That will be 9 minus 2x over x. So that is part 3 of the question. This is a question in relation to functions.